Hey guys, Chris here from Carolot Farm. Today I want to talk to you about caring for an older equine in cool, wet weather. This is my older mini mare, Lady. I am estimating she's around 30. The rescue had put her age closer to 20, but as I've gotten to know her and watch her, looking at her teeth more closely, her movement patterns, and the fact that she's a bit of a hard keeper, believe it or not, I am, again, feeling like she's closer to 30 than 20, and I have noticed that she is having a very hard time regulating her temperature on these cool, wet days. When I came out to feed her this morning, I noticed right away that she was trembling here by her shoulder and back by her hind end. I get the sense that she is just a little cold. She's hungry, she's eating, she's alert, which is fantastic. But I don't want for this old lady to be cold and shivering because we want her to, one, conserve her energy and her calories to keep that lovely weight on her. And I don't want her to be cold and uncomfortable. So I need to do what I can to make sure that she stays warm and dry over these next several wet days ahead. If you look closely here, you can see where she is trembling on the hind end. This is what makes me think she's cold. Caring for older equines can have its additional challenges, such as helping them to stay warm and keeping weight on them, two things that older horses tend to have more trouble with. So for Lady, I'm going to do what I can to help warm her and ensure she has plenty to eat. I'm really glad, though, to see that she has eaten her breakfast. She had her senior feed and her soaked hay pellets, and she's finishing up all those last little morsels, so that will help to warm her from the inside out for sure. She has plenty of grass out here in her paddock to graze upon, so that, combined with the breakfast she just ate, will help to warm her body more because as she digests the food, her body will produce heat. So those are great things, but there are some things I can do that will also help on the outside to keep her warm, such as finding her blanket and bedding her run-in with more dry hay so she has a warm place to lay down. While Lady finishes those last few morsels, I'm going to head to the brown barn, find her blanket, and then come back and pop it on her. It is 57 degrees. I just checked the weather, which is surprising that she is as cool as she is given the air temperature being relatively warm. But I think it all has to do with her older age and just her body's increased difficulty in staying warm in weather like this. It's really important that all horses have access to shelter, whether it be a stall or a run-in or even a dense, section of forest. All of those can suffice for shelter. Here on the farm, we have stalls and run-ins, so all of our horses do have access to where they can choose to get out of the rain if they wish. My two little boys, Shenanigans and Rocky here, are showing you that they very much like to duck indoors when it starts to rain. Sweetheart is another good example of a horse that has chosen to stay indoors and under cover when it was raining. With the exception of the little mud up on her rump, probably from a roll, she is relatively dry, so she has definitely been indoors. I hear Lady calling up front. Now that I have hay for her bedding for that run-in and her red blanket, let's head back up front, check on her, get her all warm and toasty, and then work on preparing her run-in so it's a little drier and warmer as well. Here she comes. She was out grazing, that's a great sign, but now that she's going to come on up, I'll put her blanket on, and that will for sure have her feeling better. She's not so cold that she's uncomfortable, but she is burning more calories than she needs to. Hi, sweet girl. What a good girl. She was very excited to see me with hay. This is not the tastiest hay. This hay is approaching 2 years old. It's a little tough, and it's really intended more for bedding, but there will still be some more tender pieces that she can eat on. Her teeth are not great, and so when it comes to hay for eating and consumption, she does best on a more tender hay. But let's get her all buckled up and strapped in so that this old lady here will be feeling much warmer. Lady's blanket here is a 45-inch mini-sized blanket. In the winter, when she had her full winter coat, it really barely fit her. She's quite long. I think she's a mini cross. And now that she has shed that thick winter coat, mostly, her blanket is actually fitting her a little better, but she is still sticking out just a little here on the back side. So if I were to order her a new blanket, I would probably go up a size or two just to give her a little extra coverage. But that all being said, this will still help to keep her much warmer and much drier. Now that I've seen her get cold on 2 wet occasions this spring, I do want to order her a sheet. Not just a rain sheet. Rain sheets tend to just be a waterproof layer without any sort of insulation. I do want to find a sheet that is, yes, waterproof, but that has a little bit of polyfill, because I do want it to be a slightly warmer sheet than just that outer layer. So that's what I'm going to look for here for Lady. I will make sure it's a little bit bigger by 1 to 2 inches depending on the brand. Sometimes you can go up 1 inch increment and sometimes you have to go up by 2. But even if it's 2 inches larger, I don't think it's going to be too big for her, because she has shown that she's quite long. She has a big, broad, sprung rib cage, and she can definitely handle a slightly larger blanket. I've just now finished bedding her run-in with all of that old hay. I used maybe 1/3 of a bale, so I'll continue to add to it. We're going to have several wet days here on the farm, and Lady will just be happy munching and picking through this hay. Most of it will just be bedding, but she'll find a few pieces that are worth eating, I'm sure. You can see she's got quite a wad here hanging out of her mouth. And here it comes. Her teeth, I told you, are not great. And so I find all sorts of hay wads here and there. But she is happy, she is content, and I know she'll be feeling much, much warmer. I am going to open her gate though, because I want her to be able to come and go as she pleases. Now that she has her blanket on, she should be able to graze and still stay warm and dry. So those are all great things. The more she eats, whether it's hay, grain, or grass, the more her body will continue to produce that heat, and that will all just help the cause. So this old lady is doing really well right now, I'm so happy to say. I'm not sure if you have seen pieces of hay fall out of her mouth after chewing, but you can see the hay is a bit tough. And these are pieces that she kind of gnawed on and then expelled. So that is one sign that your horse's teeth might not be great, but given her age and the fact that her weight is looking good and she's holding steady with what we're doing, I think it's just the way it is. At the very least, we could give her an A for effort. She is trying her darndest to devour that hay. I think one of the reasons Lady might spend more time out here versus in her run-in is her good friend Timber is in the field next door. And when Timber comes out to graze, she likes to keep an eye on her. And when Timber retreats into her run-in, Lady has a hard time seeing her because of the tarped wall that's acting as a windbreak for her run. So those are some of the reasons why I suspect she might spend more time out here in the rain than some of my other horses. But now that she's warm, she's dry, I know she'll be much more content out here, which is a wonderful thing. It's early afternoon now. I want to go check on Lady to make sure she's not getting too warm with her blanket. I don't suspect she is, because it's only right at 59, 60 degrees. It really hasn't warmed up much. But just to be on the safe side, I want to make sure she's not getting too warm under that winter blanket. Oh, sweet girl, let her know I'm here. You know, she's warm, she's dry, but she's not feeling the least bit damp or sweaty. So I think she is just fine with her blanket. And I dare say she is still a pretty happy camper out here. Thank you for joining me today as I work to care for my older equine, Lady. I was surprised to find her cold and a bit shivering this morning at breakfast time. She now has her blanket on, she has a warm bed of hay up in her run-in, and so I now know she is warm and dry, 2 very important things. I will continue to check on her throughout the afternoon hours just to make sure that she is still comfortable. Have a great rest of your day. If you have an older equine like I do, be sure to check on them often, and I hope to see you in the future. Bye, guys.